Hey, what's going on, everybody? I hope you guys are having a good day. I'm Dr. Boyce Watkins from Your Black World and the Black Business School. And I'm going to give you guys a second to come into this conversation. This is an important conversation because we're actually going to talk about making money. As you guys know, that's one of the most important things that people like us can do with our time. Because money is power and we are powerful people, and we're going to be more powerful as we learn how the economic game is played. So today, my special guest is Miss Danielle Pierce. She is the CEO and founder of economicelevation.com. I want to ask Danielle, how you doing today?
I'm doing pretty good, Dr. Boyce. Had a couple travel issues, but I ain't complaining because nobody cares anyway, right?
Right, I know, right? Ain't no point in complaining. I've never had a day where complaining did anything other than make me feel maybe a little bit better about my situation, but then again, I
Yeah.
always end up feeling worse.
Yeah.
So
Yep. Same.
yeah, so there's nothing good about disempowering yourself. And so as we get started, I want to say hello to everybody that's coming in. Divine, is that Bayudin? Gemini Bay, Yvonne, Antonio. Shout out your city. Shout out the city that you're chiming in from. I'd like to see what cities you guys are coming from. We're going to have an intelligent Black conversation here. Patrice Nicole, Ava Davis, how you doing? Those of you who are watching on the Black Financial Channel, what's up? Those of you who are watching on Your Black World, hello. I see Chicago, San Antonio, Norfolk. Let's see,
Wow.
what else? New Orleans. We're actually going to have an event in New Orleans pretty soon with our expert empire family from the Black Business School. Let's see, Crispy, is that Crispy Cuts from Atlanta, BP from Raleigh, North Carolina, Prince George's County, Houston, Syracuse. Now, Prince George's County is interesting in terms of real estate perspective, because didn't Prince George's County? I read this. Maybe you read the same thing. That Prince George's County actually got hit the hardest during that recession when
I
the
did.
bubble hit.
I did. As a matter of fact, many predominantly Black communities around the country were hit the hardest and are taking the longest to recover, with some that still haven't fully recovered.
Wow, wow. I thought everybody recovered by now. So there are a lot of places that still haven't recovered from 2007.
Uh, yes, sir. There are.
Wow. Well, yeah, and I remember specifically hearing that foreclosure rates were very high in Prince George's County and also in Atlanta, which are kind of known as places where Black people were doing well. How do you interpret that, Danielle, when you heard that the foreclosure rates were pretty high in the areas where even our most affluent people were living?
I interpreted that to mean that people bought at the height of the um, kind of the inflation of the property values. And then when everything turned, they were stuck with properties that actually I found myself in the situation too, to be quite honest. They were stuck with properties that were overvalued for current market conditions. But of course, the banks do not care about that for the most part. They're like, okay, your original agreement was for, based on this property value, and this is your dollar amount. And yeah, we know that the market value is not worth that, but they make it very, very difficult for you to change that.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's a reason why when people talk about a market crash being like a sobering kind of moment, it really is sobering. If you think about what it means to be sober, it's like before you were drunk or you were high. Now you come back to reality. Maybe you got a hangover, maybe you
Uh-huh.
crashed, and you kind of just get back to where you say, okay, when I was drunk or when I was under the influence, I was feeling myself. I was feeling maybe a little bit of unjustified confidence. And actually, there's a financial term for that. Alan Greenspan used to call that irrational exuberance, where
Yes.
investor confidence is extremely high and you feel like you can't lose. Everything's
Yes.
like fish, shooting fish in a barrel. And then
Uh-huh.
bam, the market crashes. And it just kind of reminds you that when you invest, you are always taking a risk, even when it seems like you're not taking a risk.
Absolutely. That's the best summary of explanation that I've seen so far. That's it.
Yeah, yeah. So everybody who's watching, just kind of know that those crashes, they always exist. Every market has crashes. I don't care what market it is. I remember crypto was taking off, and I got a little nervous because crypto got real crazy off the money. People were doubling their money in a week and stuff like that. And then they started taking more and more risk. And this is all the kind of stuff we study when I was getting my PhD. We talked about that investor psychology and how investors get super confident when the market's doing well, and then when the crash hits, it really scares a lot of people because I know the crypto market pulled a lot of people in who were just novice investors who had never invested before. And then when it crashed, there were people they sort of ran away or they said, oh, you guys don't know what you're talking about because look, the market crashed. The whole time I kept telling people, I said, just please be careful because it ain't gonna stay this way. The crypto market crashes all the time. The stock market crashes on a regular basis. The real estate market crashes every now and then. And these are actually, this is just part of the process. This
I
is
agree.
what it's like to be an investor. So I wanted to share that point just because I just thought that was worth kind of discussing. And also the last point I'll make on that is when you talked about Prince George's County, what I really saw also was maybe because of that irrational overconfidence in the real estate market, you had people really taking on a lot of debt, creating a lot of leverage and a lot of risk. And when markets dip, that's when the people that have the most debt tend to get hit the hardest, because if you're borrowing, then whoever is loaning you that money, they usually have a condition in your contract that says if the value of your collateral drops below a certain point, you got to pay up. Or like we buy stocks with debt margin, that's what they call buying on margin. If the market starts dropping, then you have to start selling stock in order to deal with the margin call. And actually that accelerates the crash, because a lot of people do that. A lot of people leverage the hell out of themselves. And so I guess I'm going down that path of logic just to say to everybody, be very careful with debt. Debt can be a powerful thing, but it's a dangerous thing. So you got to be really careful with it. So anyway, hit the thumbs up button. Please hit the thumbs up button. Danielle, so I'm going to ask you this question. This is Danielle Pierce from economicelevation.com. So Danielle, you have been heavily invested in the tax lien industry, and you're actually teaching people how to do it, and you're really making some moves in that area. Can you talk about some of what you guys have been doing lately that I thought it was pretty interesting?
Sure. So I've been a tax lien investor for about 3 years, and it's one thing to talk about what you're able to do, but it's another thing when you're able to talk about what you've shown other people how to do as well. So I'll just take the results from this last sale that we attended, myself and my clients, in March of 2019. This was a sale in Indiana, and myself and my clients, we actually walked away with 15 properties. For the total amount spent was $30,000 roughly. Now, I've still got a few more clients who got some properties as well that I don't have the exact numbers for. I have a few people who don't like to put all their business on social media, so I could, they don't want everybody, a lot of us have this thing about people being in our business, so they don't necessarily tell me. They kind of email me, they want to make it public, but myself and my clients, 15 properties, a couple of vacant lots in there as well, again for $30,000. And the starting bids at this particular sale is only $500. So of course there were some for $500, but I would, some of them went for a little bit more money than that. But yes, we make it happen. And I tell everybody that tax lien investing is a phenomenal opportunity to look into.
Okay, so are you telling me that you were able to get okay, when you say that, just to make, I just want to make sure everybody's clear on that. So you bought 15 properties for a total of $30,000?
Yes,
now,
myself and my clients.
Okay, so you and your clients bought these 15 properties for $30,000.
Yes.
That means that they just own these properties, or is there a stipulation that, because I know you're in the tax lien investing?
Yes. So there's it depends upon, so this particular sale was a tax lien sale. So when you buy the tax lien, you're not the owner right away, like on that same day. There's a redemption process, which that's just a time frame for the owner to come back and say, hey, you know what? I got all the money I owe. I'm going to, pay all the back taxes, and you're not going to be able to move forward with the property. So occasionally that does happen. But the redemption for this particular sale happens to only be 4 months, which that is the lowest in the nation. So the redemption could be anywhere from 4 months up to 2.5, over 3 years if we're talking about a backwards place like Alabama, unfortunately. But I don't invest there. I don't recommend Alabama for anybody. But this particular sale is only 4 months. So what will happen is we'll wait out the 4-month time frame. We'll hire an attorney in the interim to make sure that all the paperwork and notices are sent out properly. And once that 4-month time period lapses, that's when you get the tax deed to the property. Actually, it takes a couple months after that, but I'll say by 5 to 6 months after March of 2019, we will have the deeds if those properties aren't redeemed. And you did ask me about.
Wait, you said March?
March is when we went to the sale, and the redemption is 120 days after March. So they have, the owner has 4 months to come back and say, hey, I got all the money, or I don't have all the money and I can't pay it, and I'm, going to ultimately lose the property. So that's kind of how the process works. Now, you did ask me about tax deeds, and I'm glad that you mentioned that, because when we're talking about tax deed properties, a lot of times there isn't that waiting period. There's no redemption. You just own the property outright. So you can buy a tax deed property as well in a few states like Indiana, Michigan, Louisiana, California, if you have 6 figures or more. So there are places where you can just buy the property or the land outright.
Okay, so Danielle, by the way, I'm talking to Danielle Pierce from economicelevation.com. Please hit the thumbs up button. Please hit the thumbs up button. Also, please share this video. So Danielle, when you're working with your students at economicelevation.com, you're not just teaching them what to do. You actually went to this auction with your students. And how did you guys go through that process of buying the properties? Like, raise their hand and bid. Like, how did that work?
Yeah, so it was actually, well, first things first, I did go to that particular sale because I was bidding, but I don't normally accompany people to sales. That's obviously a much higher price point, and then I obviously can't attend every single sale. I am a huge proponent of showing people how to fish so that you can go fishing. I don't like for people to be tied to me at the hip to where they can't move unless I move. Like I'm focused on relaying everything that I know with regard to tax liens so that people can go execute. That's the first thing. And then with regard to this particular sale, so yes, this was a live sale, and it's a real live auction. Like I have a couple clips of my YouTube channel, and in my Facebook group as well, where I show the auctioneer, but he's in front of the room, and he's like, he'll call the property number, and then he'll say starting at 500, and then it just kind of goes crazy from there, depending upon how many people want the property. But yes, it's a real live auction, and then if there's multiple people that want to bid, you guys are kind of bidding against each other until somebody get tired or somebody run out of money.
Well, I love it. Now somebody's asking about Danielle's website. Danielle's website is economicelevation.com. It's economicelevation.com. She's also a financial analyst on FlyNewbieandQueenTV.com. She has a show. Your show's what, on Tuesdays and Thursdays or Monday?
Yes, Tuesdays and Thursdays, 11 o'clock Eastern Standard Time.
Okay, Tuesday, Thursday, 11 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. You can go to FlyNewbieandQueenTV.com if you want to check her out, FlyNewbieandQueenTV.com. And the website she teaches about tax liens and everything else is economicelevation.com. That's economicelevation.com. So somebody type that in the chat so Larry Hurt can have it in there. And Larry, I'll put it in the comments as well after we get done so you can have it. It's economicelevation.com. Now, Larry's asking about Ohio. If Larry lives in Ohio, what is he able to learn from you, given that you don't live in Ohio, but you teach about tax liens?
So the tax lien class that I offer covers 23 states. Ohio is one of them. So you have a couple of options, Larry. You can invest in Ohio, which happens to still be a pretty moderately priced location for the most part. The starting bids aren't necessarily $500, but if you have 3, 4, 5,000, you can acquire, a property somewhere in the state of Ohio. Other moderately priced states like Ohio are Missouri, Michigan, of course, and what's the other one? Wisconsin, like the Milwaukee County area, has a lot of really, really, really cheap properties. So those are the options if you have $3, $4, $5,000. The where you invest should be dictated based on how much money you have and really how much access to credit you may have. I get a lot of people like, I want to, buy in California. I mean, you can get deals in California, but those deals are still going to cost you, 6 figures. So if you have $100,000 or more, then by all means, you can start in California. If you don't, you got to go where properties are more reasonably priced, like the Midwest or the South.
Okay. So Danielle, just for people, I know that this is a basic question, but I'd like for you to get your take on this. Why is it important for our people to own real estate? Why is it important for us to understand real estate from your
Man, how many hours we got to be on here, Dr. Boyce? Because that's a loaded question. But I'll say a few things. There's recent reports that came out that stated that that showed that Black home ownership was down over the past couple of decades. And of course, there are a lot of theories about that, and everybody was kind of offering up their opinion about whether or not that was a good thing or a bad thing. I think it depends upon who you ask. I did a video before about how you're not really a homeowner if you don't have the deed. And most people got what I was saying, and everybody else was like, oh, this is bullshit. You telling people not to own a house. And that's really not what I'm doing. What I am saying is to be smart about it and to be strategic about it. A lot of us, as you mentioned earlier, get caught up in that. What was that phrase? Exuberation and whatever you said, that exuberation.
Irrational exuberance.
Yeah, irrational exuberance. And so we just want the house at all costs, no matter what. We want the house so we can stunt and show off to our friends and family. show on social media, etc. But buying a house the traditional way does require a lot of things that kind of deters a lot of the Black community from being able to buy. For example, a good credit score, down payment, proof of down payment, steady work history, W-2s, tax returns, earnest money deposit, and again, the credit score, you have to qualify based on that. So if you're not able to go that route for whatever reason, maybe you don't have a steady job or you don't have consistent income, then it becomes important for you to buy at a tax lien auction, because you kind of circumvent all those barriers that stop us from buying a house and getting a loan from, say, Chase or Bank of America. I do think that home ownership is important, but I think what's even more important than that is smart home ownership. So don't be out here just getting, the bank will qualify you for money for a loan that you may not necessarily want, that you can afford on paper, but in real life, you probably can't, if that makes sense. So they'll say, oh, you make, $60,000 a year, we'll give you a loan for $250,000. I mean, you could do it on paper, but in real life, you're going to be house poor, and that's not the way to go.
Yeah, it seems like, it's a matter of at least knowing what you're getting into, and making sure that whatever the hurdle is that the bank sets for you, whatever you agree to, make sure you can jump it comfortably. Like, I'm imagining, I'm not imagining, I've lived it, I've had debt and all sorts of stuff. And if you can barely make it, like if you're sort of here, like in terms of making the mortgage payment, that might not be a good position for you to be in, because that means that any little thing, any little issue can throw you off track. And then next thing you know, the banks can't come along and they're going to take all your equity and everything else. And also the other thing I think I noticed a lot of people miss out on, because there was actually an article I saw, and I'm going to talk about this on the Black Financial Channel at some point for you guys, where they said millennials actually, millennial homeowners, the majority of them regret buying a home. Did I send you that story?
You didn't send it to me, but I've seen it. I know that millennials are not buying. They're not buying homes the way that we have in years past. They're also not reproducing the way that we have in years past. And some people are like, oh, that's terrible. The millennials are sending the country to hell and blah, 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 blah. But honestly, Dr. Boyce, I think that the millennials often have a point. For example, with regard to the home ownership, they are not feeling this idea of buying a house, paying on it for 30 years, becoming the real owner after 30 years, and kind of taking so long to build up equity and become financially stable. They're not feeling the idea of just having children just because society says that you should have children. So, I mean, I don't really like to bash the younger generation, because I think every older generation thinks that the current generation is sending the country to hell. And I think the truth is somewhere in between.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I agree. I mean, I think there are so many areas where, you see younger people letting go of the things that their parents did.
Because they see it didn't pay off for us. They like, okay, well, we saw what you did, and you got this house, and you still broke, and you still struggling, you still living paycheck to paycheck. So obviously, this is not the best plan.
Yeah, well, I've seen the biggest rebellion, occurring when people talk about this whole, like, go to school, go in debt, get a job, to spend your whole life working to pay off the debt, and then maybe right before you die, you'll have the debt paid off, and then you go into retirement and it's game over. And I've been a big advocate of Black folks, us really changing the game when it comes to investing. Where if you guys haven't joined the Black Business School or stuff like that, or Economic Elevation, you got to join, because we're really giving you models that are different from what you learn in college. But I've actually explained to parents how you could easily set your child up where they can retire at 28 or 30 years old. And I explain exactly what retirement means, exactly what financial freedom looks like, exactly what you could do right now. And it's not that hard to do, but you got to start while the child's young, And so ultimately, I just really think that, you got to look at how many years of our lives we're expected to give away just to, fulfill obligations that again, are arbitrary and unnecessary and all that stuff. So let me ask you, let's go back to tax liens, actually. And by the way, everybody, I'm talking to Danielle Pierce from economicelevation.com, and we're talking about buying tax lien properties and how she buys them so cheaply. And she's very good at this. I want to say thank you to Ryan Doro for the donation. I appreciate you very, very much. This will go toward spreading Black intelligence throughout the world, because as you guys know, we are in a battle against ignorance. In case you don't know, Danielle, that's what we always in a war against ignorance, because they want Black people to be dumb as hell. They want us blind, deaf, dumb, and stupid. And these people that come to this channel are financially woke, and we're gonna stay that way. So hit the thumbs up button, by the way. Please hit the thumbs up button. So let me ask you this question. So Danielle, in terms of you teaching on economicelevation.com, how people can get started with tax liens. If I went over to your platform and I signed up, to learn from you how to do this, what will I learn, from sort of, learning from you and having you as my instructor in this process?
Okay. So on paper, my style of coaching is very, very direct, and I cut through like 98% of the fluff. I tell people that I'm an expert in real life. I'm not just on social media pretending. There are quite a few pretenders, and I'm not bashing any particular person or company, but I just know what I know. So on the platform, you'll be able to learn, of course, how to get started investing in tax lien properties. So you'll learn which areas are good for new investors, which areas you should avoid. You'll learn how to value the properties that you acquire. You'll learn how to figure out what the maximum bid amount is that you should make on each property. You'll learn about different exit strategies and the pros and cons for each. And you learn about all the websites where you can go to find these properties. And I even also talk about how to acquire land bank properties. Now that's a different conversation. I've done videos about that before on here, Flighty Being Queen, Your Black World, etc., and on my platform as well. But land bank properties are those properties that are owned by the local city. And so you don't have to worry about the redemption and the waiting and all that stuff with tax liens and tax deeds. You just literally own the property outright. Every city doesn't have a land bank, but a lot of them do. And for example, Shelby County, Tennessee, you learn about that website on the platform as well. And Shelby County, Tennessee, of course, includes Memphis. And you can buy properties in Memphis right now if you have $4,000. They're gonna need some work, but you could buy a property like this month and close next month in Memphis for $4,000.
Well, you know what? I'm gonna say this. We're actually gonna create our first investment club in the Black Business School with some students, and I think one of the things I might have you do is I'm going to beg you to come in as a guest speaker because I'd love for us to form that coalition and go and buy some of those properties up. I think that's a good hobby to get into is property acquisition. And once you get into it, once you're acquiring assets, it's just sort of, it becomes part of who you are. Like I know I love buying a new share of stock. I love it when I can get it for the kids, and the kids, they love owning shares of stock, and it just adds to your financial security. So I just encourage you guys, all of you, make ownership, not income, your key financial driver. It's all about ownership. Income only gives you an opportunity to have ownership. So think of income like taking the shot on the basketball court, but ownership is putting the ball in the basket. So you can take 1,000 shots, but if you don't put the ball in the basket, then you won't have any points. So let's not just take the shot. Let's put the ball in the hole, and that's how we're going to win. So let me say this before I let you go, Danielle. Bahiyunda, I'm sorry, I can't pronounce your name. I apologize. I'm going to practice that. I'd love to hear your analysis of black banks. First of all, thank you for your donation. I will look into it. I'm going to research some stuff on black banks. I'm not a banking expert, but I'll try to see what I can find out and see if I can do something for you guys on that. Hit the thumbs up button, and please give Miss Danielle Pierce a digital round of applause. She's on the road, but she agreed to do this conversation with me. So I want to say thank you so much for that. And also her website is economicelevation.com. That's economicelevation.com. Could somebody please type that in so others can see it? It's economicelevation.com. Like you're going to elevate, right? So
yeah, and a couple more things too, Dr. Boyce. I realize it looks like I'm in jail, and I want to make it clear that I'm not. I'm at an airport because I'm looking at my background and I'm like, this looks like I'm in prison.
Oh, no, we're done shaming black people in jail because they done locked up so many of us. Going to jail is like, I don't know, like going to get your toenails black people. But they done locked up. Please don't even, you know what? I kid you not. I don't even ask. When I work with people, I do not even care or ask, anything about a criminal record, because I think so many of our people have been hit by this mass incarceration epidemic that almost raise your hand. Everybody say yes if you have a relative, friend, baby mama, baby daddy, cousin, sibling, or child that's been to prison or is in prison right now. Raise your hand. I'm raising both hands because I got several relatives. Danielle, you got people. I do. Yeah. I mean, let's just be real. These are war criminals. These are war criminals, black people. That's what many of them are. It doesn't mean that they didn't mess up. Doesn't mean they didn't make mistakes. Nobody's saying that. It's saying that in our society, there are some people who make the same mistake as others, And some of those people, you know, get away scot-free. They get a second chance. And some of those others get treated like the Central Park Five, who actually didn't commit any crime and got a decade in prison. And that's just real. That's the world we live in. So we are always at war. We're at war for our freedom. We're at war for our economic strength. We're at war for our minds and souls and everything else, our bodies. And so this is part of that war. And you are a fellow soldier. And I want to say thank you for being such a great soldier. Because people, you know, without strong Black women like you, men like me ain't nothing. So thank you, Danielle.
I appreciate it. But my point that I was going to make with regard to the tax liens is, and how my approach or my preference for tax lien properties is that I do sometimes get some backlash from people with regard to, you know, when I say that they're not the homeowner if they don't have the deed. I just want to make it clear that I actually was taught that way as well. So I went to college, got my degree, was going to, you know, be a partner at this public accounting firm and, you know, do all these great things. And then I realized that wasn't what I wanted. And I realized that wasn't the best approach. I've actually been through the foreclosure process. Had a house, I had my first house that I got at 25 or 27, 2005, however old I was in 2005. I can't remember at this point. But I got my first house and got an approval for a loan. It was like 115,000 or somewhere in there. And I just thought that, you know, this was really going to be the ideal scenario for me. Of course, the market crashed and I was not able to manage those payments. Tried to get a loan modification. The bank told me, we can't help you. And then they did come back and say, okay, well, we can give you $100. We can reduce your payment by $115. So of course that didn't help. So long story short, they ended up foreclosing on that house, which was on the southeast side of Chicago. Shout out to the east side, right off Stony Island. And they foreclosed on the house, Dr. Boyce, and they sold it for $15,000. Mind you, the mortgage was, what I got it for was $115 or $130, but they let it go for $15,000. And that was kind of the start of my being aware that, you know, there has to be another solution or better pathway to home ownership, because this can't be it. And I couldn't figure out why they wouldn't reduce my payment, but they would rather prefer to turn around and sell it for, you know, such a small amount of money. I mean, I didn't have $15,000 at the time either, but I digress. I just knew that it didn't make sense to me. And so that's kind of what started my journey into looking into other alternatives like tax lien investing.
Well, you know, Warren Buffett, always, he describes wealth as a transfer from impatient people to patient people, meaning that those who think like investors tend to have more money. I see also wealth building as a transfer of wealth, of money from financially illiterate people to financially literate people. I see wealth as a transfer of money from financially unconscious people to financially aware, financially woke people who are paying attention, watching what's going on. I also see wealth as a transfer from the distressed to the extraordinarily blessed. You know, the distressed pass wealth to the blessed. And what I mean by that is a lot of people like Warren Buffett make most of their money by going around looking for people or companies that are financially distressed. Just like you're, you know, in that situation with you in the bank, right? You were financially distressed, right? The bank comes and they take this house from you. Then somebody comes along and says, oh, hey, I got 15,000 in cash. I'll buy the house, right? So that's how they buy your $150,000 house for 15 grand, because, you know, they're financially woke and conscious and aware, and they're looking around. They knew the things that you know now about tax lien properties and tax lien sales and all that. So they're alert, aware, literate, and also they've got some cash. And so when they see that distress, boom, they move in, and next thing you know, their wealth has increased by the difference between what they paid and what the house is worth. So they increased their family wealth by about $130,000, $140,000 because they just saw what was happening, and they saved their money to take advantage of those opportunities. So if you want to know in a nutshell the psychology of a wealth builder, that's what it is. It's almost like the psychology of a hunter or somebody that's just awake and looking around and shopping for bargains and looking for opportunities, and that's what happened there. So there you go. So I think it's good that you're teaching people, and I support it. And I'm gonna stop talking because I usually have a lot to say about this. This is like a religion to me. This is a gospel to me. So Danielle, give me your website one more time and how people can get in touch with you.
Sure. The website again is economicelevation.com, and there's actually a discount code available for those of you who are interested in taking advantage of the tax lien class, the discount code is Elevate, and it'll take 75% off the prices that you see on the website. And I do have to say, Dr. Boyce, that that last analysis of the definition of wealth being a transfer from people who are financially illiterate to those who are financially literate is amazing and profound. And I want to thank you for saying that, because it really made a lot of sense, and it summed up that scenario. And I hadn't thought of it in those terms before, but a sister is woke now, so I'm just trying to wake up everybody else.
Well, to your credit, honestly, it literally took me almost 48 years, 2 bachelor's degrees, 2 master's degrees, a PhD, and 15 years of teaching college students for me to actually see that. I literally,
Wow.
that analogy literally popped into my brain 10 minutes ago as you were talking,
Yeah.
5 minutes ago. And that's how long I took. I probably wouldn't have said that 2 years ago, right? So this is a complex game, and I think that those of us who are blessed to understand this, it's great that we can all communicate, because there's so many things about this world that I love to teach my people. I just want you guys to, keep listening, and we're here to help, and we know sometimes we ask you guys for help, like, sometimes we have to charge a little fee for certain things, but you guys see that we're here every day for you, and we want to be your guides to help you to just flip this game on its head. We are smarter than white people. I know that's hard to believe, but we're smarter than the white people that you gave $100,000 to go to college, and we actually care about you too. No disrespect to them, but we're on our game. So thank you, Danielle, for your time. I truly appreciate it. Everybody, just a reminder, Danielle Pierce, her website is economicelevation.com. That's economicelevation.com. And the code to get 75% off her class, you can get it right now, is Elevate. Just type in the word Elevate, and you get 75% at economicelevation.com. She has a tax lien class where the code works. Those of you who are asking about my class in the Black Business School, Larry Hurt says, I pretty much only listen to you. How do I sign up for your class in the club? Well, just make sure you're in the Black Business School, theblackbusinessschool.com. And I'll tell you guys about the investment club. Most of you are already in the Black Business School, but go to Economic Elevation as well if you want to learn tax lien investing. Danielle's extraordinarily good, and she's just an awesome person. So thank you, Danielle. I appreciate your time.
Thank you, Dr. Boyce. See you next time.
All right. See you soon.
All right. Bye.